And also UNFCCC has also coming around next month. All these needs different reports to be presented by the countries. But ideally, when you look at the content and the substance of those reports, it's the same. You cannot talk about biodiversity in CBD and you don't talk about biodiversity in climate change because it's also adversely impacted by climate change. Or you cannot talk about biodiversity in CBD and you don't talk about biodiversity in Ramsar because there's a lot of biodiversity in the wetlands. So now you find that these conventions, for example, have different focal points, okay? And each of them is given that mandate to prepare that report. So each time they have to run around, individually, looking for the same type of information, asking the same different source, same question. People get confused. So I thought I had this question last month. Somebody came from environment asking me the same question. Now you are coming from water resources asking me the same question. So this system is just supposed to ease that process so that you don't even need to go to anybody's office. You see? You log it. This system is not for Ministry of Environment. This is a National Environment Information System. You have the protocols to log in there. You can access the sector nodes from your system. But does not mean that Water Development Department has to transfer their data to you who is using the information. No, it just navigates you to go to their database and get the relevant information you want for that report, okay? And you compile your report, which is a secondary report. And actually, we would like to make even the compilation of that report automated, okay? Where you can, you can query, and then it gives you a summary report with a story map of what you want by harvesting all the information from different sources and giving you a report in which you can work with. So this will ease and make this reporting process cheaper. It is not cheap, running around going to all the states trying to get the background information. And this system is not only at national level. The system will have horizontal linkages to the different sectors and the vertical linkage to the different states. Because I believe the states also have similar structures down there. They have got a unit which deals with water, a unit which deals with biodiversity and so on. So the system is also going to address the capacities at the state level so that everybody who is upwelling the information in the system, the information is credible and you can trust it. So South Sudan is among the 19 pilot countries in Africa implementing this system. And of course, South Sudan is the new kid on the block, so it will learn from the mistakes and the best practices which have already been tested in other countries. So that's the advantage which you have. So these 2 days, you are going to enter in the books of history by being pioneer of a very important system in South Sudan. You will be remembered in future that these are the wise people who sat down and streamlined the process of environmental reporting in South Sudan. Because it is very amazing that I think the country which spends the largest amount of money, the largest percentage of its budget, GDP, on information is only South Africa, in the whole of Africa, which is 0.2% of its GDP, and that's the biggest. They put a lot of money. The rest is 0.00, actually nothing. They don't even spend on what? On information. So when it comes to decision making on major issues on environment, they have no clue what's happening in their own countries because they didn't invest in that system. And yet, with climate change coming around the corner, you really have to be on top of your game, otherwise people will die. It is no longer just a luxury of maintaining environmental information. It's a matter of life and death. If it comes to early warning for disaster preparedness, they call it meteorology, they have to have the most accurate information so that people can get out of harm's way in good time. And this information has to be public domain. Nobody's going to walk with it in his briefcase that he has traveled Geneva, so we're not able to access this information. The information has to be public domain. Okay? Even if he's not around, somebody is able to advise. Okay? The citizens that please, this is what is coming in the next 1 week. What surprises me is something is foreseen to come in months and months, but it still catches people unprepared. And this is not a joke. Because in countries like in the US, when they tell you the hurricane is coming, you don't have to wait and see. You just have to get on the nearest means of transport and get out of the way. And as climate change is also here, it's going to be the same. If they tell you that, the River Nile has breached something and the water is coming, you don't wait to see whether it will reach you up there. And there has to be strategies. How are you going to move people? Because you cannot just tell people move. Where are we moving? And you can only do this as a government when you have the proper information, because it is involving money. The people from the Ministry of Finance will say, so how much money do you want to implement this? And you don't have data and information to quantify how you are going to address this problem. So you don't get any money, because the people in the Ministry of Finance want figures and they want numbers. So if I give you 100 million, how many people are you going to move? You don't even know how many people live there. So how are you going to plan? So this system is supposed to improve the planning process. And environment is going to be one of the key components of government structures in most of African countries. It's only in Africa where environment is low key. But in other countries, developed countries, the Minister of Environment in the UK is among the most powerful ministers. They are in the same category with Minister of Finance and so on. The same with the US. And I believe here, it will also have to become the same. But we can only empower our decision makers when we have accurate information. Because if the minister wants a brief and he wants to present to Parliament something critical on environment, he needs figures. He doesn't need a story. Because if just a story can read in the newspapers, he needs something which is more scientific, with a lot of figures, statistics, and so on. And these statistics can only be found in this system which we are putting together. Because the complicated part of environment, there are a lot of interlinkages. You cannot look at floods and don't look at health. Okay, what is likely to happen there? If areas get flooded, there is disease outbreak. Okay? So there is no point saying, oh, we are going to give a lot of money to Ministry of Health when you are not taking care of the cause and the source of the problem. So those interlinkages have to be brought at play in a system which brings in those components of what? Interlinkages. So we shall be spending these 2 days discussing these principles. We are not experts on South Sudan. That's why we have called you here. But we know what has worked where, and we feel that South Sudan now has got the opportunity to pick up the best practices from the different countries. Once you have been given the structure, the kind of structure which works. Of course, you can say that this one cannot work in South Sudan. Then you can recommend what works in South Sudan. Just don't say it doesn't work in South Sudan and leave it there. Something must be working in South Sudan. Because, we need a bit of energy in the room or in the forum. Don't say, this one cannot work. This country cannot move. No. We have to move. We can't be there forever, you see. Unless you have given up on life, that's when you talk like that. And it's not good, even, I don't think even God accepts that. So let us be very, very open-minded these 2 days. Recommend something which, you know, you have got a lot of good. We can give you all the raw material to work with, the discussions and the final agreement on what the systems will look like is up to you. The system, that's why we have brought a system designer to interact with you, to understand your constraints, because if you say, oh, the internet is a big problem, because this is a web-based system. If you don't have internet, then you don't even have to start talking about a web-based system. But internet, this is that problem does not exist anymore in many countries. Why is it still persistent in South Sudan? That's what it's coming to look at. What are the available options which can make you leapfrog over this encumbrance? Because they are already there. Okay. So those are the kind of things which you would interact with, and be open-minded and see really into the future. Don't look at now. Look into the future, where you are going and where you think you want to be and how you want to ease, you know, your work. So I think by way of opening remarks, Serena, let me stop here, and then we go into the substantive issues which we are going to put on the table. But I think it will be okay if someone feels that he has a very burning point to interject before losing it. They should feel free to interject. Thank you.
Thank you.